What's shaking, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more punk rock, and we're back with some more Propagandhi. Going back to their second album, Less Talk More Rock, 1995. I've talked about it a couple times, but I think it's still worthy of mentioning that this was the first album in my life where I knew the band already, loved their first album, and then felt challenged a little bit by this album. Not so much ideologically, it's very much in the same sort of territory, perhaps like I think more expansive and like addressing some more issues beyond sort of kind of the like dissident rage of the first album. There's more of a sensitivity, more of like a concern about different demographic groups, like specifically in this album. But it was more like musically, it felt like it wasn't quite as like rip roaring and sort of brash and energetic as the first album. Now even then, as I've said a couple times also, there were a couple tracks, like including the first track, and the probably the biggest hit from the album, and We Thought Nation States Were a Bad Idea. They did have the feel of the first album for the most part, pre-Teen McCarthyist maybe too. But the point is, it was the first album I got where like I was excited to get it, and then I got it, and it challenged me. It made me have to like listen to it a few times, and you know what, this is cool. It's not exactly like the first album, but it's cool. And it was my first lesson that bands are allowed to grow and evolve and even change their sound a bit, and it's up to you at that point whether or not you want to follow. And I thought Propagandhi was an interesting enough band that I definitely wanted to go along for the ride, even if it wasn't exactly the ride that I thought it would be when I got this album. So that always just stands out to me when I think about their material. That the first album was sort of groundbreaking, literally changed my life, and then the second album was like, okay, fine, but there's, you're gonna have to grow some more to keep listening to the group. So I enjoyed that. But bottom line, we're gonna listen to a tune called Rio de San Atlanta, Manitoba. This is a song with a notably different sonic atmosphere than the rest of the album, and indeed, I think this song, it sort of foretells the style that they would end up embracing more fully once Todd joined and John K. Sampson left, in the sense that it's more of a metal-oriented punk song. At the very least, it's a thrash-oriented punk song. And yeah, bottom line, it's a song that I think, if you know Propagandhi only through some of the songs I've been reacting to, you'll know that they have energetic and fast like punk rock songs, but this is the most like aggressive and just again like thrashy of the material on the first two albums. Though again, I do think it's interesting in the sense that Todd had not yet joined, but this sounds like a song that might be on a Todd Propagandhi record. So yeah, the song lyrically, I think it's interesting. It's pretty short in terms of like the lyrics on the page and what it's saying, but as far as I can tell, it's speaking about sort of the worst characteristics of modern human society, which are found most acutely and most clearly in larger urban concentrations, big cities. And ultimately, the song makes the case that the real sort of guilty criminals in these environments where there is a lot of crime and exploitation, violence, brutality, and so on, they're not actually, sort of thuggish stereotypes. They're people who are walking around with briefcases, who have pens, and, in modern times have like, digital devices that allow them to, through the scratch of a pen or, again, like the slash of their finger on a digital template, make decisions and craft policies which disenfranchise millions of people, which make it so that, their corporate buddies get great kickbacks and, at the very least, tax relief and so on, whereas, working class people don't get extra benefits, and we're not going to allow minimum wage to be raised and so on. And so it basically makes the case that, wherever you are in the world, whether it's Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, Atlanta here in the States, up in Manitoba, Canada, wherever you are around the world, you'll probably find yourself in one of these environments in which, like, decent, ordinary people are exploited by a system that seems to value only, technocrats and elite individuals who get to craft policy and so on. So basically, the song is making the case that we live in these hellscapes that are indicative of exploitation, financial avarice, and so on. And so the end of the song, it says, "This system cannot be reformed." which is interesting. I noticed like this vinyl version, it actually has like the lyrics to the song songs on the back, which when I was taking out the vinyl just this time, I never even really noticed that, because in the CD version, which I also have, it's like a big fold out with all the lyrics. But yeah, here they're on the back, and it says at the end of this song, in parentheses, so how about we try something different? I don't think they actually say that in the song. I think the last line in the song is a very forceful, this system cannot be reformed. But then it says here, again in parentheses, so how about we try something different? Which, again, that's sort of the lesson of the song, that, like, urban sites have been perhaps, and, fair to say, the emergence of the city and eventually the city-state, it sort of marks the transition into like modern history, which is to say the first like kind of recorded history we have, the first writing we have, the first accounts we have are when like cities had already become the increasingly dominant sort of paradigm. But yeah, so it's basically making the case that in these cities it's indicative of the worst things that humans do. And in the modern articulation of that, again, it's sort of these like technocrats and policymakers who enforce and perpetuate these systems of exploitation and violence. So why can't we try something different, is what they would say. In any case, let's get it. This is Rio de San Atlanta, Manitoba, by the pro-feminist, animal-friendly, anti-fascist, and gay-positive Propagandhi. Always love that logo. And they've continued with that logo like right into the present day. But yeah, so this is, as I said, Rio de San Atlanta, Manitoba. Is it this side or the logo side? The writing on all these records is so damn small. I think it's this. So I think it's the 5th track on this side. It's definitely got it because it's super short, which this song is. So here we go, Propagandhi, 1995, from Less Talk More Rock, Rio de San Atlanta, Manitoba. You bastard. There's literally... Yeah, listen to this. There's no gap between the end of the last song. Like, you can't...
Our city seems to function quite the same. Swimming out under one big perfect that we need to contain. So the upper middle class is sleep. Because the steps that trickle down will solve this poverty. Murderers walk our streets. The weapons of the random policies. The armed campaigns that drivers for the war. Against the lazy kids and population out the floor. This system cannot be reformed.
So why don't we try something different?
The opinions expressed in
the following message. Yeah, like I said, it's a very short, thrashy song. It's, it doesn't quite sound like an early 80s tune, but it's sort of in that, like, early 80s politically charged hardcore where it's, like a minute and a half of, like, scathing critique, boom, song done. Yeah, and I forgot about the line about trickle down. Again, it is about sort of, the policymakers who just, maintain and perpetuate these systems of, advantage and exploitation. And they do so, through policies like trickle down, like, oh, we're going to cut taxes on the wealthiest corporation individuals. Oh, but like, what about the people who actually need like a bit of like economic relief and so on? Well, it'll trickle down, the richer people, they'll start spending more and that'll help people lower down the chain. And eventually, it'll benefit the people on the bottom rungs, which, the fact that this was actually a selling point that people bought is just insane. Like, we'll give something to someone else, and maybe eventually through an ambiguous and unclear process, you might end up benefiting a little bit after that. But yeah, so it's just another indication of the way in which certain policies are put into place that maintain this sort of character of sort of large concentrations of humans and what it means for the vast majority of humans who live in those hellscapes. So, in any case, let me know what you think of the song. Big shout out to Propagandhi. I'll see you next time.